So tonight I'm going to be joined by Anya Petrovic, and she's going to actually be discussing Tesla Metamorphosis therapy. And Anya's actually an internationally recognized teacher. She's a healer, an author. She's a professor of world literature with a postgraduate diploma from the Australian College of Applied Psychology. And her life completely changed since Tesla happened to her. She now travels all over the world to teach seminars and give lectures about this technology that they use for healing. And Anya's actually presented at the International Tesla Science Conference in Philadelphia, the International Nikola Tesla Congress in Belgrade, and in the British Columbia University in Canada. And the clients that she has are reporting amazing healings, which are, according to the Orthodox medicine, incurable. So again, this is going to be very interesting. It has cured such things as cancer, AIDS, lupus, spine injuries, chronic fatigue syndrome, even healings from birth deformities. So tonight, there are a lot of people I know that listen to my show tonight that do have psychic abilities, have a host of strange illnesses, things like that, where they've gone to Western medicine, they've gone to all these doctors and specialists like I did, and nobody can seem to find an answer for you or a cure. And so this is going to be an interesting topic tonight that we're going to talk about, because, again, if anybody themselves suffers from these kind of illnesses or knows somebody that does, this is a technique that, people are raving about. So, again, have any questions, we definitely want to hear them. And, again, just with the hashtag Paranormal Connections. All right. Anya, are you there?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you and to your audience.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Boy, oh boy, I don't even know where to start, but I guess we can start, talking a little bit about you and how you came about the whole Tesla Metamorphosis.
Yeah, well, it all started like a fairy tale. I live in Australia, in Sydney, but I happened to be in Belgrade, Serbia, on 10th of July. I rented some place to work from, and this morning, for some reason or for no reason, I came earlier to this place, and I was just standing by the window and enjoying the dance of morning sun on the roofs of Belgrade. And then all of a sudden, two completely white doves came straight to my window, picked the window with their beaks, and moved their wings like two ballerinas, following the same choreography, and flew away. And that filled me with some joy, and I felt as if something important happened, but I couldn't connect it to anything. And then later on, a client came, and I started doing healing work, and I heard a voice in my head. I'm a psychologist, and that is what we call schizophrenia, when you have voices in your head. Well, I heard the voice saying, Tesla healing, you need to reconstruct Tesla healing. And my first reaction was, what a nonsense, like Tesla and healing. Of course, I know who Nikola Tesla is. He is the man who invented 21st century. I mean, all technology that we have nowadays is based on his inventions. But Tesla and healing, and who am I to reconstruct something a genius Tesla invented? So, I just couldn't get it. And this voice repeated after a few minutes again, like, Tesla healing, you need to reconstruct Tesla healing. And that day, I had 9 coincidences telling me that I needed to do something connected to Nikola Tesla. And then in the meantime, I remembered how Tesla loved doves, and he wrote a story about a dying dove. saying, "I loved that dove as a man loves a woman." And then he said when he got aware that the dove came to say that she was dying, he said that such a strong light came out of dove's eyes, much stronger than any lamp he could produce in his laboratory, and that a part of him died with this dove. So, as I said, everything started as a fairy tale, and then later on, this fairy tale was scientifically confirmed.
So for people that may not be familiar with Tesla or even this technology, like what are 3 aspects of this Tesla metamorphosis?
Well, first of all, I find out that in US, most of people really don't know about Nikola Tesla and who Tesla is, and they get surprised when I say that this is the man who invented alternate current, remote control, wireless, robotica, radio, and over 700 patented inventions. And most of his time he worked and lived in United States of America. But the problem was he had found out how we could use free energy. And that is why they discredited him and they did their best to remove him from history. So, for example, in the books here, you read that Marconi invented radio, though Marconi lost on court in New York and could not register radio because Tesla registered it much earlier. So that is who Nikola Tesla is. Yeah. And Tesla Metamorphosis, I would like to explain why we have that privilege to have Tesla's name in the name of modality, because first of all, it was a surprise for me, like Tesla and healing. So it took me 9 months, first of all, to accept it. And then all things started evolving on its own, and there was the scientific confirmation and so on. But I would like to explain why we have this privilege to have Tesla's name in the name of modality. It is because we can access Tesla waves. Tesla didn't call them Tesla waves. He called them non-Hertzian waves. And he explained that those waves are different from Hertzian, not just in frequency, but also in their structure and form, that they are multidimensional and they are in the domain of a new physics. So they are not in the domain of the physics as we know it. This is our privilege, that apart from the bandwidth of all other frequencies, we can also access those Tesla waves. And I hope I'll explain to you why it is so important. Because, the difference among modalities is not in how we wave our hands or where we place our hands. The difference is in what frequencies of energy we can access. Actually, what levels of consciousness we can access. When I talk about Nikola Tesla and when I learned about him, I actually realized that his geniosity and geniusity of his science and scientific work was in his spirituality. His science was spiritual. He was aware that energy is not just a mechanical movement of particles, that he was actually interacting with consciousness, with this universal consciousness that nowadays is called the field, and Tesla used to call it active ether. I don't know whether you heard about Swami Vivekananda. Well, he's a Hindu who lived in Tesla's time, and he wanted to unite all religions. And there was a high respect between Nikola Tesla and Swami Vivekananda. And thanks to Swami Vivekananda, we have a letter he wrote to his colleague in India after visiting Tesla's laboratory, where he said that in different colors in Tesla's laboratory, he could see Shiva and Vishnu and all their gods. And then he said something very interesting. He said that Tesla talked to his electricity, giving it order. Actually, Tesla was interacting with this, what he called electricity, like with the conscious being. That is why the man who invented everything modern technology is based on said, the day science begins examining non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all previous centuries of its existence. It is about the connection between Nikola Tesla and Tesla Metamorphosis. And in Tesla Metamorphosis, we use those frequencies that we call Tesla waves and a bunch of other frequencies or levels of consciousness in 3 ways. There's a Tesla healing metamorphosis, Tesla soul communication, and Tesla light body metamorphosis. Tesla healing metamorphosis, you can guess, it's about healing, and people come when they have their health problems. Our clients report healings from many illnesses that are considered incurable, even from physically damaged spine and birth deformities. If you go to the website teslametamorphosis.com, you can hear, for example, a mother of 21-year girl saying that the doctor of her daughter was amazed how only in 2 months, since he saw her previously, one side of her rib cage, which was indent and much smaller, developed to be equal to the other, and her spine was almost completely straight. So I know when I talk about such things, and that's not the only case, then people simply could not believe it. I don't know whether you know, but I wrote a book, Tesla Metamorphosis, Heal and Evolve. And in this book, I searched for answers for all those things that people tend to call miracles. Like for that healing, people would say that's a miracle. But actually, I don't believe that miracles exist. And those are all natural phenomena, just maybe at a particular time we are not able to understand or scientifically prove them.
It might be the fact that, like, with Westerners, we're used to Western medicine. So when we get sick, we immediately go to our physician, and they do all these tests, and they come back and they tell us that we have these horrible illnesses. You know, I'm one of them, and they're incurable, or they put you through a whole battery of tests and that can make you sick, and all these different things. And so the doctors then will say, well, it's incurable, so you're just gonna. It's basically just a waiting game until you die. And so
I think that's a crime, because, you know, even if they cannot heal it at the particular moment, it doesn't mean that somebody else cannot help it healed, or that maybe next day, even in science or in medicine, they'll find a solution for the same thing. First of all, I mentioned that I was looking for the answers. So I will touch first one thing that is connected, let's say, this case where a 21-year-old girl was lucky that her rib cage was developed, which was really much smaller and intent. to be equal to the other side. So when I was searching for the answers, I found out that there is Dr. Pyotr Garyaev, who is the member of Russian Academy of Science and New York Academy of Science. And he and his team, they did research on DNA, and they have found out that our DNA follows some rules similar to the rules of human language. Somehow he calls it biological grammar and syntax. And they managed in their experiments, without any surgical intervention, without cutting and replacing any genes, they managed to get from an egg of frog a salamander lizard. There is another thing, that our DNA creates or makes biophotons. Those are light particles, and Tesla used to call them the spark of life. So those biophotons are messengers. They share messages among cells and among us and through all the universe. So what was happening in the case of this 21-year-old girl and her rib cage, actually her DNA received the information how the healthy rib cage and lungs should be, and they developed. You see how simple it is. It is just that the frequency should be adjusted to the proper one. And now I would return to your comment about doctors and saying that something's incurable and so on. I don't know whether you know about Dr. Bruce Lipton. Have you heard of him?
No, I have not.
Well, Dr. Bruce Lipton also had research on DNA. And before him, everybody was just examining DNA strands. And they were throwing away a protein layer that is around DNA strands. And Dr. Bruce Lipton actually had found out that depending on the information that this protein layer receives, certain genes are activated or are not activated. And in his research of 10 or more years, where he had examples of children that were adopted, and for example, they had in their biological family, they had cases of cancer or heart diseases, and in the new family where they were brought up, there were not those diseases, and they believed that they were part of this family. They didn't develop those diseases. And opposite way around, I mean, those who didn't have, for example, cancer or heart diseases in their biological family and were brought up in the family where those diseases were present, and they believed that they are part of this family, they developed those diseases. So you see, when we go to doctors and we have to fill in those forms asking, do you have cancer or heart diseases in your family history? It is actually as if they are putting a chip in your head. You are the next.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually, I'm going to, before we get too far into that, we've got a question coming out of our speaker chat room from Eric, and he is asking about Tesla, and he says, do you think that Tesla got any of his information from alien technology or information?
Well, I don't know whether we would call it alien, but definitely Tesla said, my brain is just a receiver. There is a source in universe from which we gain all knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I didn't manage to get into the essence of this source, and maybe I will not manage, but I will never stop trying to research. So he was aware that we are, and nowadays they actually had found out that our heart plays much more important role in receiving that knowledge than our brains. Though from early childhood we were taught that we should rely on our brain logics, but here in California, you have HeartMath Institute, and they did the research, and they had found out that 80% of information goes from heart to brains, and only about 20% from brains to heart and other parts of the body. And heart has much closer connection with this, what nowadays they call the field, or Tesla called active ether, or you might choose to call God, whatever name you choose, for this universal consciousness. In HeartMath Institute, they were doing some experiments, and they were putting randomly all different pictures on the screen. And there were butterflies, waterfalls, flowers, and then all of a sudden a snake in a tuck. Heart would react much earlier than the picture of the snake appeared on the screen. So what does it mean? It means that heart had the information that the snake will appear on the screen. And that means that heart has more direct connection with the field or active ether, or this source of information Tesla was talking about.
So now we have another question coming in from Twitter from Wallace, and he's asking, in these healings, do you actually use a Tesla coil, or how are these healings obtained?
No, we don't use any machines. We are lucky to be able to access those Tesla waves directly from active ether, how Tesla would say. So there is no need for any machines. There is scientific proof that we actually access those waves directly.
Okay, perfect. This is like so very interesting, because again, there are so many people who again have been diagnosed with all kinds of stuff that you talked about, everything from cancer, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, things that we are told that this is just something you have to live with. And I'll tell you, having an illness the way I do, it is I'm in pain every single day. And the idea of my doctors for 10 years was, well, there's nothing we can do to help you, so we'll just put you on all these pain meds, and that'll help you till the end. And it absolutely was not what I was looking for. And I was looking at more natural holistic ways of dealing with my illness, not looking per se for a cure, but just something that will help. I've tried all kinds of things, but this technique, this kind of technique is so different. And again, listening to you explain about the Tesla connection, all of that, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I know that you guys have done a lot of studies, and you actually take like photographs that like actually show like what looks like an auras, different colors and stuff, say before and after these treatments. Let's talk a little bit about that and the colors and what.
Well, actually, when I was told that I'm doing Tesla Metamorphosis, Tesla Healing Metamorphosis, I didn't have any proof. I just knew, but I didn't have any proof. And then I learned about a so-called PIP camera invented by Dr. Harry Oldfield from London. And I was about to go to London to find out more in a search and looking for answers. What is this, what I'm doing now? And just at that time, I received a report from a mountain in Serbia. They have discovered that this is actually a pyramid. And a group of scientists went to examine this pyramid. And among them, there was Dr. Professor Ljubo Ristovski. And when I received this report, I saw the pyramid photographed with this PIP camera. And what was also interesting, in the same group, there was engineer Marjanovic who managed to reconstruct Tesla amplifier with extra coil, which can radiate those waves that we now call Tesla waves. So when Professor Ristovski made the photograph of this pyramid, on the top of the pyramid, there were purple colors. And when scientists were measuring, they have realized that the energy was weaker on the very top of the pyramid and stronger away from the pyramid. So they assumed that this pyramid is a receiver. But then the engineer Marjanovic, just by chance, had that amplifier with extra coil in his car, and he demonstrated to others that there are some waves, actually those Tesla waves, that can get stronger with the distance. And Professor Ristovski made an image of this amplifier, and you can notice on that image some purple colors around the amplifier. And then when I heard about that, I invited Professor Ristovski to come and make photos during the seminar, because I was just about to go and do the seminar in this city. And when he made the photos, we discovered that we actually, I play and say, we have colorful on white that we can access those Tesla waves, because this is not just a camera, this is a computer program. So different frequencies of energy are colored in different colors and have different codes. So identical colors and codes that are around Tesla amplifier with extra coil are registered on the photos of Tesla Metamorphosis sessions. So that is how we get this proof. And I would like to talk a little bit about why it is so important to have access to those Tesla waves. I know that the majority of people, they get interested in Tesla Metamorphosis because of those, as you said, amazing healing results our clients report. But I personally believe that even more important than those healings is the effect of Tesla waves on human consciousness. In Tesla Metamorphosis, we also do something that we call Tesla soul communication. I'll first explain what Tesla soul communication is. This is a healing method where we are working with clients, helping them to bring something that is deep in their subconscious mind to the level of conscious mind to be able to solve the problem. In psychology, we use free associations and hypnotherapy to help people to bring stuff from subconscious mind. But I find that Tesla soul communication is even more effective because, first of all, in a simpler and faster way, we can get to the results. And also, in both in hypnotherapy and free associations, we get to the level of subconscious mind. In Tesla soul communication, practitioner creates communication with the client on the level of conscious, subconscious, and integrative mind, which is the level of soul. What does it mean? It means that even karmic healing can be reached. I'll tell you how it looks in the class when people learn, because, I was getting messages that I should teach that. And then I must admit, I was arrogantly afraid. Okay, I know how to do it, but how could I be sure that other people could do it? Just simply sit down and create communication with another person on the level of conscious, subconscious, and integrative mind. And I'll tell you a small anecdote. When those messages were persistent, I decided to give it a go, and I did it first time in Sydney with 3 people I knew. And on second day of the seminar, something very interesting happened. One of the students, Mars, was reading what she got through the healing session. And all of us, we had teary eyes because it was really touchy. It was very emotional. It was a beautiful day in Sydney. The sky was blue and it was sunny. And then all of the sudden, the clouds accumulated and it started lightning. And all 4 of us, as on a command, we turned toward windows and said, "Hi, Tesla." Because I don't know whether you know, but Tesla's nickname was the Master of Lightning. And then in 5 minutes, the clouds disappeared. There was a drop of rain. And I took it as an omen that, yes, I should teach it. And I'm again and again, all over again, fascinated how all people in the class are able to create this communication, and they were not aware of such abilities before. They were not clairvoyant or anything similar. And then in the class and after that, they could do it. Like, for example, one of the exercises is that each student brings a photo of somebody who needs healing, and those photos are mixed, and everybody works with somebody he doesn't know and writes down everything what he gets through. And then he receives the feedback of the person who brought the photo. And there is a lot of excitement when people realize that there are no doubts that they were communicated with this person from the photo, because you can recognize their character, the way they talk, even by words, and so on and so on. So I was wondering, how comes that they all can do it? Because I don't do any attunements, any rituals to enable them to do it. So I already mentioned Swami Vivekananda, because Tesla said that his teaching is the only theory that could entertain modern science. So I decided to go and learn more about teaching of Swami Vivekananda. And there I learned that yogis have some special meditation which has the purpose of elevating consciousness. This meditation starts from basic chakra, which is red, up to the 7 main chakras, and finishes with crown chakra, which is purple in color. And Swami, who was teaching us, he said that not every yogi would manage to get to the level of crown chakra. When auras of students, after finishing Tesla Metamorphosis 1 seminar, were photographed with this PIP camera, they all had purple color in their auras. And Professor Ristovsky, who made those photos, he said that's a phenomenon because purple color is not characteristic for human auras. So it seems that those intelligent frequencies of Tesla waves bring us to the level of crown chakra simultaneously. And according to me, that could be the only explanation how comes that all people all of a sudden are capable of creating communication with other person on the level of conscious, subconscious, and integrative mind, and they were not aware of such their abilities before.
Well, I mean, again, so for me, I mean, I'm a psychic medium. I've been able to have these kind of abilities my whole life. I believe we all have these abilities, and I believe that the majority of people, they are basically shut down. They're not active.
Yes.
So it's interesting because we've seen with the change of energy and the shift that we've been going through, a lot of people's psychic abilities are activating. And so again, doing something like this with the Tesla technique, I could see where that could possibly activate those dormant abilities.
Yeah, because you don't have them, as you said. But for example, I just came from Ljubljana, and there I had 60 students in this Tesla Metamorphosis 2 seminar. And they are from all different backgrounds. There are 2 doctors of science, there are some medical doctors, there are Reiki masters, plumbers, farmers, all different ages. And each of them was able to create this communication. And they were not psychic before. They were not clairvoyant before. And I didn't do any ritual or attunement. So it seems that this consciousness we are working with and we call Tesla waves brought them to the level of crown chakra, and that enabled them to be able to create this communication.
So what would you think? So say I was to come, or somebody else, say here in Sacramento, was to come to one and have psychic abilities, and we were to come to your seminar. Do you think that that's even going, since we already have psychic abilities, do you think that going through this, it might activate them and make them even stronger, or bring on other ones maybe they don't possess?
No doubt. Because that elevates our consciousness. And that is, and for me, and that is, for me, that's the strongest motive, one of the strongest motives that make me travel and make 2 circles around the world a year, 14, 15 cities in 1 year, and do the seminars. It's because sometimes it seems to me as if we received those amazing healings as a donkey carrot to be focused on something which is even more important, and that's the elevation of human consciousness, because we all have chosen to take the human form in the period where our Mother Earth is going through changes, shifting, and when humanity needs to elevate the consciousness to be able to follow that and to move to the next dimension. That is why I think that this effect of Tesla waves on human consciousness is even more important than healings. Yeah, of course, healings are important to people who suffer, but this is really something that I believe is important.
All right. So, it can help people on so many different levels. Again, a lot of people come forward and they say they wish they were more in touch with their psychic abilities, more connected. Some people, again, who are sick and are suffering. It seems like there's a lot of benefits for a lot of different reasons for people to come to your seminar.
Yeah, and also it happens, for example, that because I didn't say, usually we suggest 3 sessions of Tesla Healing Metamorphosis, because most of the time, after 3rd session, it is obvious whether there are significant changes or not, and most of the time, 3 sessions are enough. Either it's done or it isn't done.
How close together are the sessions usually done?
It could be day after day, but it shouldn't be more than 7 days apart. Yeah,
that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it is quick, and that is amazing. But sometimes it happens that there are no changes. And in those cases, Tesla soul communication might help, because sometimes consciously or subconsciously we sabotage ourselves in the process of healing. So this Tesla soul communication can help us find the cause, or find out why we are sabotaging ourselves. For example, I'll give you my own experience. I had ear infection, and then clients were coming and going, and they got healed from cancer, from all those horrible illnesses, and for almost a month, so I couldn't heal my ear. And until I finally sat down and started doing Tesla soul communication on myself, and then I learned what I was supposed to hear, and I wasn't ready to hear. And then my ear got healed, So our body tries to communicate with us. And also, this method is very useful for our clients, but it's equally useful for practitioners. It is a special challenge to do Tesla soul communication on oneself, because we all believe that we know ourselves, but that's a great way to find maybe some hidden fears or ambitions. Or I do it from time to time to check my motives.
Welcome back to Paranormal Connections. We are back for our 2nd hour with our guest, Anya Petrovic, and we're discussing the Tesla Metamorphosis therapy that she utilizes and lectures about, gives seminars all over the world. My goodness. So I'm getting a lot of questions in the chat rooms, and some of them are very similar, but a lot of them are asking, what can people expect when they go to your seminar? What are they going to experience? Is each person going to experience the same things? Are they going to be different? What types of things could they possibly experience?
Well, each person is unique, so each person will have different experience. We have 3 seminars here in Sacramento. So the first one is starting next Friday evening with the introduction, which is free, and everybody is welcome. Those who are attending the seminar, they have to be on this Friday night presentation. And then on Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. And this is the seminar where you learn how to do Tesla Healing Metamorphosis. And after finishing the seminar, you will be able to do healing on others, healing on yourself, distant healing. You can heal your pets, your plants. You can heal your situation. You can heal food, water. So after finishing the seminar, each student will receive a certificate and can work professionally as Tesla Metamorphosis 1 practitioner. There is one more thing which I find very important, and in this Tesla Metamorphosis 1 seminar, we do one exercise which I call radiating love, because love is essential for healing. And most of illnesses, as the bottom line, they have a feeling of lack of love. Also, radiating love is a great survival tool, because when we radiate love, then there are minimum chances that somebody or something will attack us. Love is the greatest power. And I don't know from what age I kept on saying that love is the greatest power. But when I really understood what I was talking about was when they brought to me a young girl. Thanks God they brought her in a weekend house, so I didn't have a massage table, and I put her on a double bed. We were doing the session. This little girl was throwing her body all over the bed. She acted as if she was fighting with something, and she was holding for a medallion of Mother Maria and Jesus. Some teacher gave her for protection. And when the session was finished, I spoke to her parents, and they told me that she has such attacks periodically, and that she keeps on drawing some alien face and calling it the gray. So in second session, it was nothing was better. But in the third session, I started radiating love, not just toward the girl, but also toward this, whatever was within her or around her, or I don't know. And in the middle of the session, she became peaceful, and she had nice, peaceful expression on her face. And at that time, I was recording what clients were sharing with me, what they have experienced during the session. So I have that recorded. She said that the gray had to leave because she was surrounded with too much love. So that was another learning for myself, because then I realized that we are truly powerful when we are capable to love those we believe are our enemies, to truly love them, because love is the greatest power. So that is the part of Tesla Metamorphosis 1 seminar. Now, the special challenge is, and a special excitement, I believe, people have in Tesla Metamorphosis 2 seminar, where we learn how to do Tesla soul communication. For this seminar, I would suggest to ladies to use waterproof mascara, and we always have some tissues ready, because, we all have in our subconsciousness emotions that we suppress there. They can be released and during the sessions. And this is the seminar where I think people find a lot of interest, and they're very happy when they realize that they are really capable of creating communication with other person on the level of conscious, subconscious, and integrative mind. The third seminar is about Tesla light body metamorphosis. This is a specific process which is done once in a lifetime in 2 consecutive days and in 2 sessions. And this process has a purpose of elevating consciousness and helping us to reach our optimal blueprint, our potentials. So this is the process that could be recommended to everybody, even to people who are perfectly healthy, because through this process, our forgotten talents and arts can be awakened. On seminar Tesla Metamorphosis 3, you can learn how to perform Tesla light body metamorphosis on others.
So, about how many students show up for each seminar?
Oh, it depends. I really don't know how many will show here because I'm here for the first time. In Ljubljana, I had 100. Here, I don't know. I always teach no matter how many students are there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think that's important because some people, if they don't meet a minimum amount of people, then they will cancel the event or whatever. So I think that
I'll do that with the same passion, no matter how many students are in the class, because I trust that everything is for a reason, and that is how it works. So it's not really relevant how many students we are going to have here in Sacramento.
Right. Sacramento is a great place. There's a lot of people that are I think will be definitely interested in something like this. I know I am. I mean, it's definitely piqued my interest, and I know that I'm going to get together with you, see for myself. Now, but I've got a question from Jessica from Twitter, and she's asking, having a psychology background, how did you feel when you were hold on, this is not making sense what she typed. How did you feel when you started getting messages, I guess, telepathically?
Yeah, well, I am very comfortable with this, and I had those messages before. It is like loud thoughts in your mind, but this time and very often it's a male voice, and I communicate with Tesla as well. So modern psychology is starting to be aware, including Dr. William Tiller, who is here in California, starting to be aware that many talented people are treated as sick people, and it's a high time for psychology to realize and to make a difference whether somebody is sick or somebody is talented. All great scientists, they were connected with the source, and they were, let's use the word, downloading information. I already mentioned that Tesla said, my brain is just a receiver. There is a source in universe from which we get all the knowledge, inspiration, and strength. And also, if we mention Newton, they have found a lot of channeled notes written by Newton in catacombs, and Michelangelo and Jules Verne, those people received the information. So I was really comfortable with this, and I was happy. I'm always happy when I receive this information. At one stage, you get to the point where you get the information and you don't question it anymore because you simply know.
Right. Because you've been getting the information for long enough, you can decipher it and you understand it. Yeah, I completely get that. That makes actually a lot of sense. When you first came out with this new technique with the Tesla Metamorphosis, how did your colleagues take this? Because again, the field of psychology, I mean, most people like me who are gifted and have abilities, that's the last place we would ever want to let someone know that we got messages from somewhere or we heard voices, because we might end up locked up in a padded room. But with you, having a degree, so it's like you're in that field. And so, with it being so closed-minded about, say, psychic abilities and healings from, these Tesla techniques, how did they take you when you first came out with all of this?
Well, I had one case where one educator said that those people who hear things that we don't hear, or see things that we don't see, or smell things that we don't smell, they are disabled. And I said, well, wait a minute, maybe we are disabled if we don't hear, see, and smell those things. And there is a very clear definition what is disabled. I mean, definitely there are some people that have problems with coping with that, and that disables them in functioning normally during the day, like washing themselves, eating, or working, and they need help. But there are people that can function fine in everyday life, and they can hear messages, see things, smell things, taste things, and so on. So this is a talent, and I think that some people actually get into fear because of the belief system in society that there is something wrong. Like our kids very often talk about their invisible friends, and then mom says, oh, don't tell anybody, they might think that you are crazy. So they close, they shut their abilities, and that's a shame.
Yeah. Well, with my research, and I mean, again, I've had my abilities since I was a very young child, and I tried to shut my abilities down. Unfortunately, I could not. I was very, very strong psychic. I was very strong sensitive, very strong empath as a child. So, but from my research, and I have mentored over the last 15 years, I've mentored children and teenage children with psychic abilities, and along with their parents, to kind of help the parents understand how to help their children better. And so when they're talking about these, that they've got a friend or whatever, don't say it's an imaginary friend. Don't deny what they're telling you is not real. All these different things to help the child progress and not shut those down. But what we would find, especially say in probably the last 20 years, is that children, as I said, we are all born with these abilities.
Yes.
And usually by the age of 5, once the child enters school, if they are not from an environment and background where this is acceptable, and the children, instead of hearing it or being told it doesn't exist, instead they're nurtured and it's explained and they understand it, so it's much different than it was, say 20 years than it is right now, which is a good thing. But again, I'm hoping that the psychology and psychiatry world will be a little bit more open-minded and start to understand this stuff as well, because I'm sure what you were experiencing was completely contrary to what you learned when you were going through to get your degree in psychology.
Yeah, that's right. Because as I said, I had discussion with the educator, and then he suggested me to see a psychiatrist. Yeah. The other thing is we need to have courage to tell people that we are experiencing those things and that this is perfectly normal, because that is how we can change the belief system. And we have a duty to make them understand, instead of accepting that that is a taboo.
Right. And it has been taboo. I mean, it's always funny because I do the radio shows. I do a lot of live events and do the show live from there. And when people meet me, they are immediately drawn to me. And so they like me. And all of a sudden they'll start asking me, or even like when I'm just out in public and I meet people, and then they'll start asking me a little bit more about myself and like what I do. And as soon as I start, even talking about psychic abilities, the mood will change for some people in a completely different, direction. And again, there's been so much negativity when it comes to psychic abilities. And people think that, everybody fakes all this stuff. But again, there are people who are scammers. They do fake people, to make money. But we all have these abilities within us. It drives me crazy when people think that, nobody possesses these kind of abilities and everybody's just making them up. Well, now that people are becoming brave, like you and I and so many others out there that have abilities and have these stories, we're now opening up and we're putting them out there. And we're finding out there's a whole lot of people like us out there. We're not that minority, and we don't need to be, we're not the minority anymore. And people are starting to realize this.
So there is one thing that is accessible to majority. And on the other hand, there is a lot of things that are happening in science nowadays, but are not accessible to majority. And this is why in my book, I try to present those new inventions that are backing up alternative medicine and explaining psychic abilities. Also, I had, for example, in Europe, in Belgrade, one day, in one seminar, I had more men than women in the class, and most of them were electrical engineers, people who were very much orientated in the physical world because they understood seriously the fact, actually Tesla's quote, that the day science starts examining non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all previous centuries of its existence. And also, Tesla was aware that energy is not just a physical movement of particles, that we are in interaction with consciousness, with this universal consciousness, and we are undividable part of this universal consciousness. And that's what we call energy healing work, is actually interaction with this universal consciousness.
Well, here's a question for you, Anya. With the government the way it is, obviously we know that free energy has been available and we've known about it for a very long time. But of course, it is not accessible to us and denied to us, because then all of the oil companies and everything, they would go out of business. They would be billionaires and trillionaires anymore.
Yeah. Well, the system of values would be changed and the power would be taken from some minority people hands. So that is why we have a lot of politics in science and information. We have internet nowadays, and it's not so easy to control it. So things are changing.
Do you find at all that the government, or do you ever worry about the fact that maybe the government, being turned on to the fact that here you have a technique based on the Tesla technology to be able to heal people? Because they don't seem to like that kind of stuff. They want us to be very dependent on.
It's very easy to find logic in it, because pharmaceutical industry is one of the strongest industries, and their clients are sick people and people dependent on medications, and they create people and people dependent on medications. So,
Absolutely.
of course, they're not happy with alternative medicine. But, I have one problem. I don't have fear. And when you do not have fear, then you are not opening the chance to other side. And also when you radiate love, it's a great shield. So that is why I teach my students how to radiate love. And that is why I encourage them to teach others to radiate love.
We have the link for Anya's website on the show promos, and they're out all across social media, so you should be able to find one. After she leaves Sacramento, she goes clear across the world again. So she has got a very, very, very busy schedule. So you definitely, if you're in Sacramento or surrounding area, this is something you do not want to miss. Again, this is, I think, a once-in-a-lifetime type of situation. Who knows if she'll be back? Okay. All right. We have Lisa, and she is also, this is from Google Plus, and she is asking, would these kind of healings work for people who suffer from anxiety and stress disorders?
Yeah, I had experience with people who had anxiety, but whatever illness you mention, whether it's on physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual level, the answer would be the same. Everything's absolutely possible, but we never know what the result is going to be, because we practitioners, we are not the healers. We are just invited to be the part of this equation, and healing happens as a kind of agreement between this universal consciousness and the consciousness of the body of the person on the table, because our body is consciousness. I mean, our kidneys know how to filtrate, our glands know how, when, and how much and what secrets to secret, or what hormones to secret, and so on and so on. So it is usually we don't even ask what is the reason a client is coming, because that what we call illness is just a symptom, and the cause is somewhere else. So, for example, if somebody says that he has problem with his kidneys, and if we would focus on kidneys, then we would limit the healing. And this higher consciousness and the consciousness of the person on the table, they know what is the cause. And these frequencies of energy heal the cause of the problem. So that is why our clients don't come back with the same health problem.
There you go. Okay. All right. So now we have Warden, and he's from Twitter, and he is asking, could childhood traumas or emotional traumas from your past cause the illnesses which may cause blocks?
Oh yeah, I mean that's known, but that's something that is a fact. But again, I repeat, no matter what kind of illness we are talking about, the answer regarding what are the results in Tesla Metamorphosis is always the same. And that is, everything is possible, but we never know what the result is going to be. Most of people, they report healings. Some don't. And nobody asked me why some people receive healings, but some people asked me why some people do not receive healing. And I had a very clever answer to that question. And that is, I have no idea. Because you see, we know what we are doing and we know what are the results. But what is in between? There are some explanations in my book, but our consciousness is not on that level that we can control it. We practitioners of Tesla Metamorphosis, we are just invited to be a part of that equation. And the healing is a process between this universal consciousness and the consciousness of the body of the person on the table.
Well, I have to say, this has been a very, very enlightening interview. I am so glad that I was able to get you on the show, and I will definitely be seeing you soon while you're in Sacramento. Well, again, Anya, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing the information. And thank you so much for doing this because, again, there are people out there like myself and so many others that have been searching for different techniques that will work for them. And I think that, this is definitely something that people should check out. I mean, we spend thousands upon thousands of dollars going to the doctors for, to get no answers, no cures, no help, no nothing. Again, I'm going to be getting some sessions myself, so I will definitely invite you back on, Anya, and we'll update people and let people know how it went and how the event went and all of that. And I wish you all the luck while you're here in Sacramento. Everybody make sure to go out and check out Anya and the Tesla Metamorphosis.
Yeah, and thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And it was a real pleasure talking to you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely. I'll be seeing you soon.